The Israeli jazz scene is celebrated internationally, and it is considered one of the major export factors of the Israeli culture. I'm Yotam Ziv, and together with the Culture Diplomacy Bureau of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Jerusalem Post, we're happy to offer you a deeper acquaintance with the musicians themselves. Today, we're delighted to introduce you to Darya Mosenzon. How are you, Darya?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you for being with us. You just came back from Morocco. How was it?
That's true. It was amazing. This is my third time in Morocco, and I love every minute I get to spend there.
Let's say that obviously you're a pianist, but you had a long way since you started playing piano as a child. And today in Morocco, and the sound of music that familiar or people in Morocco like. Tell us a few words about the path, your music career or the music way from childhood to now.
So I started playing the piano at a very early age. My grandmother was a pianist, so at one point it was clear to me, even as a 5-year-old child, that I wanted to play. And I asked to play the lute, actually, which is an ancient string instrument from the European classical music. Early
guitar, something like that?
Yeah, it's sort of the guitar's grandmother. And it's very similar to oud, actually, which is an instrument that I have in my trio today. So I was really, I heard it on the radio. It was a beautiful sound and it caught my attention. And I asked if I could learn to play the lute. And of course, the lute is a really large instrument. And my mother told me that I should start studying the piano and I can learn lute later. And I stuck with the piano, so that was the beginning.
And it was a classical piano, right?
It was classical piano. My grandmother was, my maternal grandmother was a classical pianist, and it was very obvious in my family that classical music was the way to go. And I think you said that I went a long way, and I think in a sense you're right, and in a sense something about what drew my attention when I was 5 years old is somewhat the same thing that draws my attention today to music that I like and to Moroccan music. So
it took you around more than 20 years. I mean, more than 20 years of age to change like the music that you're playing, right? You played classical pianist until when? Until the university, Jerusalem Academy? How long were you a classical pianist?
I still play classical music to this day, but I was thinking about becoming a classically trained pianist until around the age of 23, I think. And there was there was one concert that I played as a classical pianist that made me feel that I love classical music, but that's not what I want to do professionally. I started looking for something else, and I think the questions that I had in my mind about wanting to feel very much together with the audience, and like we all sit in the same room and are part of making this music. I don't think there's a big difference between me as someone who plays the music and someone who sits and listens to the music that I play. So these things that I was looking for, I looked for them in classical music, and I'm looking for them in Moroccan music. And I think the moment I started playing North African music, I found these things.
We are doing it a little bit fast. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Let me do it slowly, because I want our viewers to understand. So after your the concert, you had a feeling that you like the music, but it's not enough. And then you started looking for the music that you like. You stopped being a classical pianist as a performer, and you started looking for other places, other ways, other musical homes. Tell us about it a little bit. The places that you tried a little bit jazz, you tried to perform with music that it's not classic, right?
Yes, so my first teacher that I went to after I made this decision was Anat Fort, who's an amazing jazz pianist. And I think it took me a long way away, because Anat Fort teaches both jazz and free jazz, which is, I don't know, the freest form of expression, I think, that I've found to this day. And I think this started opening up doors for me. So I started studying jazz with Anat Fort and Katya Tubul, and I continued studying classical music as well. And after a couple of years, I met Elad Levy, who's violinist in the Moroccan genres. And the first moment I heard him play, I think, I actually heard recordings of his students, which were my friends. They had like an old phone with very lossy recordings. And I was listening to this, and it was one of the most beautiful sounds I'd ever heard. So it was clear to me from that moment that I wanted to study this music, and that's what I did, and that's what I've been doing for the past years.
This is where from this recording in the phone to a third time in Morocco, the way was short. But tell me something else. You said you said as a classical pianist, you had I wouldn't say bad experience, but you had something that you wanted more with the audience. When you played this kind of music, did you feel the difference that you were looking for?
Yes, I think I realized pretty early on when I was studying Moroccan and Algerian music that a lot of things that were missing for me, I don't think they're necessarily missing within classical music, but they were missing for me where I was. I found them in the North African musics that I play today. It's both the very warm and very passionate feeling that's in a room.
It's almost like,
played.
Listening to you, and I listened to you play, and also I went to one of your show. I think the difference is that the audience in this kind of music, your new music that you play, the audience has the audience is inside the music a lot more than between chapters of Mozart and Beethoven or whatever.
Yeah, I think so. I just played this past week in Dal Swiri in Essaouira, which is a beautiful concert hall in the city of Essaouira in Morocco. And that was the first time I played North African music abroad from Israel. And I went back there for, I think, the fourth or fifth time this past week to play for the first time my solo concert, my original music. And every time I come back there, it strikes me how attentive the audience is, but they really take part in the music. They sing with you, they clap with you, they know the lyrics better than I do. So it's a wonderful experience of really making music together. There's no big stage that shuts away the two sides, and I love that. And the other thing is that we spoke about like free jazz being a freer form of expression, and that's something that I also feel in this music, that there's a lot of freedom for the performer and of course for me as a composer as well.
You said that you performed in Morocco with your original music. That original music was like a Moroccan style, right? It wasn't jazz or classical music. It was your interpretation of this kind of music.
In my solo project, solo/trio project, I perform with both projects right now. They both consist of both traditional music of different kinds. Of course, Morocco and Algeria are huge countries with vast geographical expanses and a very rich history of music. So there's different genres of music that I've arranged and sort of translated into solo piano, if we're speaking about the solo performance. And alongside that, I have my own original music, which is, of course, deeply influenced by North African music, but is also influenced by the music that I grew up on. And so there's classical influences in there and jazz influences.
I have two last questions in 2 minutes. So the first question, describe your new album that is going to be soon.
So this is my debut album, which is really super exciting for me. On this album, there's going to be 5 tracks, 4 of which are my original music. And the last one is actually a very ancient Moroccan tune that has words in both Hebrew and Arabic, as do many of the ancient Moroccan songs. And I gave it an arrangement of my own for piano and percussion. So that's the last one on the album. The rest are my original music.
And the last question is, I mean, usually people play Moroccan music or Algerian music. Their parents or grandparents were born there. And looking at you, I guess that your grandparents didn't came from these areas. So the question is, how do people in this genre of music in Morocco or in Israel, when they see you and they know that you're not, you are a Ashkenazia, do they say anything?
I have to say that I feel very blessed to have come into a musical space that I feel the audience is very, very generous. They're very open-hearted, they're very open-minded, and it's an interesting question because when I go to Morocco, people usually don't ask me a lot about my background. It's their music, so they're happy to hear different versions of it. They're happy to know that someone was influenced by it, and I think their open-mindedness is really exceptional. In Israel, this question has a lot of history and politics behind it, and I think it's an important question to address. It will be very hard to address fully within 30 seconds, but I do want to say that I think when one plays classical music, usually they're not asked about their background as much as when I choose to play North African music. That is, if a pianist of Moroccan heritage would choose to play Chopin, that would be considered just a normal thing because Chopin is an amazing composer, and it's obvious to everyone that anyone should want to play his music. And I think the opposite should be obvious as well. This is such a beautiful...
Great answer. Obviously, we could talk more about your music and your background, but we've reached the end. So good luck with your album, and I hope to hear more of your music. Darya Mosenzon, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.